Good evening from New York. Today, I'm going to try to tackle this. Healing the mind, the mystic experience, communications within the brain, and how too much right-wing capitalism can lead to dictatorships. Well, as you know, I believe that empathy and awareness are essential to meeting people's needs and efficiently, and that involves many perspectives. Three prominent ones are compassionate, creative, and objective. These things help to meet human need. These perspectives used as forms of empathy can do a lot, not just for yourself and others in communication, but between yourself and yourself. Within your own dreams, within your daylight dream, which is the practice, as I refer to the six practices that are involved in the mystic experience that I promote. How is that healing? Well, the connection to your real needs. Okay, if you're going to talk about healing, you're talking about damage to something, right? Something that is unhealthy. Well, when we have our needs blocked because of anything traumatic, and just blocking them is traumatic, of course. Than anything that leads to a blocking of your ability to get your needs met. That creates a state of helplessness that's unbearable. Well, that makes you unhealthy, and it makes your brain, in order to get you to a place of survivable calm, because you can't be having your nervous system going nuts. You're reacting to a circumstance that's still happening. So the brain steps in and gives you things that are more attainable, and then it becomes a lock, a kind of imprint, a way of behaving that helps you with what I call hope dope. The idea that hey, the signal comes up, the signal keeps coming up that you have this need, and you keep denying the need. You go, well, you reroute and try to basically trick yourself by chasing after symbols of the need. That is at the root of greed, and greed is a big threat to democracy. And it comes, in many forms. And so a government that's too capitalistic will, in a right-wing kind of a way, is a kind of capitalism that doesn't take care of the basic needs of its people, and tries to devalue some people, calling them workers instead of trading partners. Some of the more blatant kind of misnomerings is the idea that a lady who's taking care and raising a bunch of kids doesn't have a job, that she's not a trading partner. You know, she's doing the most important job in the world, and she's tired. A lot of times. So look, you don't devalue people. That's not a democratic way to see things. The idea that we're created equal, so to speak, equally valuable, is no lie. It's the truth. Even if we're born with lots of problems, that's something that people can learn from. And they're helping you, and that helps them. It gives purpose and meaning to life. If everything was just perfect all the time, I don't think anything would exist. But, yeah. So, how does capitalism in its right-wing form create a pathway to dictatorship? Well, you take a look at what the Republican Party has been doing in the United States, for instance. But there are other parties the same in other countries doing this kind of thing. And that thing is this. They are grabbing all the money and all the power. They're trying to buy the government so that the government can't function unless they do their bidding. And this is what the Republican efforts have been. It's like to give it all to the super wealthy and not to support programs that meet the needs of the common ordinary individual. One fellow said that under FDR, gee, it'd be great to have a rich man vote like that. You say there's no class warfare. Well, it's kind of a Cold War, but it's there. And the problem is, when you're not meeting your people's real needs because you're giving it all to a handful of people, all the power, all the privilege, and all of the accolades. We just look at how people are eager to do that. In England, they have a royal family. Well, other than as a tourist attraction, what does that do for the country? Really? There was a show, the Rich and Famous. What is that? It's somebody's hope-dope that they're, that could be me. That could be me. Your chances of it being you are pretty low. And those in power want to make sure that it stays that way. So, in this right-wing kind of picture, you are losing as a middle-class person, or especially as a poor person. You're paying into a system that doesn't care about you. Right? You essentially have two business parties. They're both bought to some degree. But they're like the only choice, right? And the most progressive president in a long time has been Joe Biden, for instance. But you see how the whole system is trying to bring him down. They're focusing on every little minor weakness that he might have ignoring his history and what he's done for everybody, and trying to mischaracterize the real situation in terms of the progress he's made. They're trying to deny the progress. And what is that doing? Well, they're supporting a guy. When you keep doing that, well, think about it. The only way that the super wealthy can keep pulling the wool over your eyes is that they don't, they make sure of several things. That the education you get doesn't involve your rights, doesn't involve teaching about politics, doesn't empower people, from the beginning of life and how to do business. These pathways up are reserved for a handful of people that they need, because they needed, educated, intelligent people. They want to make sure that they're bought. And they want to make sure that there aren't too many of those. So, for instance, in the education system, even around the world to some extent, you don't see kids being taught how to think. That would give them independence, but a chance for self-empowerment. They tell them what to think. That's pretty boring. And you get people who graduate who have good memories, perhaps, but don't know how to apply the things that they've learned in any effective way until college. Well, the doors of college then, again, hard to open for the poor. Almost impossible. They've been given in poorer education to begin with, and that's from grade 5 up. There are just certain areas where there's a lot of poverty, and the schools aren't up to snuff. So they're valuing money over people again. And the people with the money, their kids get a better head start. After that, then you've got the opportunity for college. But it's very expensive and growing more and more expensive as time passes. What you find with progressive people like Joe Biden is trying to bring down the cost of that. Try to make sure that no child goes hungry. It's another way that you oppress people, make them your slaves, is that you make sure that some people just don't even have some of the necessities of life. You're like, oh, we're not for that. Yes, you are. Because when government comes in to try to help, the Republicans are there to stop it. Almost all the time. Of course, you've got people that are better, who will support at least things that will help children. But as a rule, they have for a very long time worked against the poor. And of course, if you look different, you walk different, or whatever, you're differently enabled. That can get rid of your opportunities as well. So this is hard. These are hard things to think about. People will go, oh, you shouldn't mention that you're upsetting people. Well, sometimes people need to be upset. When their needs aren't being met, they have a right to be upset. And to peaceably assemble and protest. Keep doing that. And, of course, they don't like that either. That can't be happening. Yeah. But, again, back to creating a dictatorship. When you get too much power in the hands of too few people, well, what they would like to do is to have dictatorial sorts of powers. Now, the rich don't want to come right out front and say, I'm it, I'm the dictator. Our group is the one-party rule. Most time they don't want to do that. But in China, of course, they did. One party, only one. Yeah, a little suspicious of that. Yeah. So, anyway, you're setting up barriers to people actually having progress and moving up in society, and even at the cost of some kids going hungry, some veterans on the street. I hear people talk about that. That's shameful. They gave their all, and they come home with no home and without the support they need. Kidding me. You can't afford to take care of the people after the war. Try not to have wars. Yeah. And if you do take care of those people, number one, others can wait. Take care of your veterans. Heaven's sakes. And the Democrats, well, they're much more for taking care of the veterans, making sure that there's government programs so that they have health care. Now, this is baloney talk about a free market. There's no free market without a fair market. Unchecked capitalism will end up in some kind of dictatorship every time, a dictatorial rule of some kind. At the beginning, of course, it's just oligarchy, ruled by the rich. But if you keep going like that, and you keep not investing in the enlightenment of our children, you're going to have adults who don't understand politics, who don't keep up with it, maybe because they're too hard working 3 jobs. But, it's a problem for them. And they can be easily fooled. So you get a lot of people like that, and you can use scare techniques like, if the government takes care of people, that's communism. No, it's not. It's taking care of people. Okay, it's democracy at work. It's taking care of people. And you see, okay, the step from there to a dictatorship is not a big one, because you've got all of these people who are easily swayed, even entranced, by someone who has a lot of money, or pretends to. Yeah. And then they just listen to them. They follow them, just like all the apes follow the big ape that, who's pounding his chest and let's go this way. Well, we're intelligent humans. And in a real democracy where everybody's thinking, the big apes don't get to do that. The powerful should not be worshipped. And so this is what they do, though. And once that happens, then you have someone like Trump that comes along. He lies every second, all the time. And you've got undecided voters going, oh, wow, I'm still undecided. There's a guy who's old, and, here's a guy who seems vigorous. Might vote for him. He lied all the way through the debate. And the media is sucked into that. They want a horse race. So, they're putting down Biden, dampening him down so that there's somebody who's a convicted felon and an abuser of women, certified, in divorces, you get these false claims. But he was tried and found guilty, My God. That's just a kangaroo court there, Joe Biden was controlling the court. That's the most idiotic thing, which you see if you don't educate people on politics and how the established institutions in a country work for our benefit, then, you come up with believing nonsense like that. 34 charges. Not a single individual said, I think he might be innocent. On 34 charges. And you go, it was a kangaroo court. There were not just prosecutors, there were defenders. And, legally. They're defending Trump. What were they hoping on? Absolute immunity. Because they know he's guilty, right? So, and he's the people that he picked that weighed the court heavily to right-wing capitalism. Yeah, they said, yes, let's give him immunity. Yeah, it's a little more complicated than that, but it's essentially that. And so you've got people that are not aware, easily tricked, just looking at impressions, And, hey, now you've got someone who's going to be a dictator on day one if he can. They already said that. Dictators don't stop once they get the dictatorial powers. They keep going. There's a lot of money in that, a lot of power. They keep going. And what the rich don't realize is that one day, a dictator like that, who seems to be so supportive of them, can hurt them. Yeah. But it's okay to be rich. Be careful that you're not rich stupid. If you're going to support a guy like Trump, he isn't going to be bad news. A dictator, a single dictator, is not just going to be bad for the poor and the downtrodden and the people who pay more than their fair share in sales tax alone. And then the Republicans say, well, they don't pay taxes. Yeah, they pay income tax. Then they allow the rich guy to pay less, than his secretary. That's ridiculous. That's just ridiculous. And so I don't see why the Republican Party, like the Lincoln Project, are so shocked that their party has produced such a clown. Of course, that's where it was going. And they had help from the conservative Democrats along the way. Yeah. But the most progressive president in a while has been Joe Biden, who really cares about you. You think that might be more important, that he's not a con, that he's a good guy and he really cares about you, which he does. You know, isn't that more important than electing a liar who makes you all kinds of promises? And those promises, of course, I mean, you can't even tell what his policies really are, because he dances all over the place when you ask him a question. And, they don't point that out. They don't point out hardly at all that there were lies coming out of this guy, false statements. It's like that was 3/4 of the time that Donald Trump speaks. It's a lie or a falsehood. The Lincoln Project is great in pointing out what a bad situation that is for rich, poor, and the middle class to have a dictator. And they're doing a great job. Kudos to Rick. Smart fellow. Yeah. So that's the connection. That's what's going on. And then you get people that are so lost in the woods on politics that they're undecided. One thing I'd always recommend is you're going to take a look at that debate. Take a look at the facial expressions of the two candidates. Very revealing. You'll see Trump with his eyes darting left and right, and all kinds of stressed looks in his face. And you see Joe's, it's like, he stumbles a bit. He's always had a stuttering problem, and he was sick that day. Who hasn't grasped for a word? It just doesn't come to you. Heck, I've done that in my 30s and 20s. Come on. But, you look at him and he's like, what? Listen to this liar. It's like, bless his heart, I mean, Joe's a good guy, and it's just, yeah, the other fellow was just lying and lying and lying, and, it's like, I think, Joe was a little, like, wow. How can you debate a liar? It's almost impossible. The debate involves two people with different opinions trying to set up an argument based on facts that they are correct. What I would suggest to anybody who's confused in politics is argue both sides. See which side is easier to argue. It's probably the one that's more correct. Yeah. So, those are some of the things that I wanted to say. And, the mystic experience. The mystic experience is something that happens, rationally speaking. That's why I call it the rational mystic. The experience, most of the time, is the way to understand that is that there's communications within your brain. One part of the brain is communicating with another part. One part of your brain is aware of something else that's going on in your brain. Does that give a possibility for some delusions and illusions? Yeah, of course it does. In the case of, say, an NDE popping out of your body, well, they've done in brain science, they've taken a look, and there's a great guy from India. I can't remember his name, but a brilliant man in India that's working in brain science and making wonderful discoveries. He talked about missing a limb and how people were still experiencing the limb. Well, the brain is amazing. It can create out of thin air. It can create, well, let's go back to the limb. There's the brain has a map of your body, according to this brilliant fellow, and it remains, and it tries to get impulses from the phantom limb, for instance, and if it's not there, then it creates something that gives it a sense of with a sense of a reality it can deal with. And so these NDEs a lot of times occur when there's tremendous trauma, like in a heart attack, things like that. But they can also occur when one part of the brain, the part of the brain that gives you your spatial orientation, is weakened. And probably a lot of ways that happens. But in experiments done by the military, as I understand it, when they suppress that part of the brain that is your spatial orientation, the person will have an out-of-body experience. And when they stop suppressing it, back in their body they pop, And of course, if there's a lot of pain and things like that, there is it can be a very colorful experience. It's like out of body. I mean, you've got to create to keep calm. You've got to create some sense of reality you can cope with. So the whole reality is created in these NDEs. That's what happens. There's a whole reality created. Does that mean that there's life after death? No, it doesn't. If you wish to believe that, then go ahead. But in the mystic experience, I've got to say, which coincides with brain research, the Buddhist mystic experience, there isn't an ongoing self that you have going from one point to another in your life. That ghost doesn't exist. Got me? It's, the brain creates a sense of I. And that I is constantly changing. And it's very much influenced by nature and your social surroundings. And influences, sure. It's even influenced by epigenetics. I am, that's going a little on the limb, but I was going to say something that is a bit of a reach, so I won't include that. But so these NDEs, you see people saying that, I'm guru now. I mean, I know the meaning of life and all of this. Not likely. Not likely. You'll hear them say things like, in this world, Everybody that I'm talking to, they know what I'm thinking, and I know what they're thinking. It's very different. In time, stand still. Yeah. Well, your experience of time is very, very malleable. You can get a sense of eternity, or no time. Uh, Time flies when you're having fun. So there's that. And then there you are with the NDE, and you're having this amazing experience created by the brain. And you're then believing that you are talking to people. All right? Well, these people are created by your brain. They're your image of someone that your brain has created, And when I talk about your inner artist, I'm talking about your brain that creates reality for you with all of the images, true or false, that seem to work for you to survive. And that can be imperfect. They're visual illusions that you cannot unsee that they can create. So, again, you're talking to people and you know what they're thinking and they know what you're thinking. We're all connected. That's because they're in your brain. You're having a daylight dream and you're aware. And all of this peopling in your dream are you. Something that you're not identifying it as you, but you created that. Your brain created that person that you're talking to in the NDE, right? Created it. So of course you sense that, wow, that other person in my dream knew what I was thinking. I knew what they were thinking. Of course. It's because both of these things were a different personality in your own brain that you could easily identify with. And the fact that, well, you are the brain, so they're you. So when you sense that, go kudos. But confusing that with any kind of spirituality is it's like, please. What's spiritual is increasing your sense of virtues. And that's more easily done in a democracy, to have empathy and awareness and meet real human needs. You need to have people voting who know how to vote and are permitted to vote, and not, having people make it hard for them to vote. Another thing Republicans have been doing for a long time. Yeah. Has the Democratic Party always been the good party? No. They were the party of the South, after the Civil War, and I guess, I don't know about before that. I don't know afterwards. And somebody inform me, let me know. But that's your Democratic Party right there. And but they were still smart enough that they voted for FDR because he was helping them, out of a crisis. It's these crises that make you appreciate government action. So yeah, they voted for him, but that racism was still there, and they kept voting for Democrats. Oh, the party of the rich got really nervous about that. So, what did they do? They started making it hard for people to vote in areas where they're going to vote Democratic. Usually people by minorities, people that don't walk alike and talk alike like them, One of the products of a weak, neurotic mind to think like that. It's pitiful. Not very bright. More people should say that. Racism's stupid. You gotta be stupid to fall for that, But anyway, and certainly you're not having much empathy, happening, or that the ear shape, the nose shape, or whatever is, that's still a person over there. Yeah, still you're equal, someone to respect. So, yeah. So off of the topic there, the Democrats, they became more the party of the intellectuals after that, the people who could see what the real needs of people were and do something about it. And then it was, the Republicans with their Southern strategy, saying things that were neo-racist. Saying, we're on your side, you haters. We're right there with ya. Yeah, we want to help everybody except everybody should be only you. Yeah, that's who. Yeah. Yeah. Black folk never even got the mule. I think it was 10 acres. They didn't get that either. No. Their ancestors created a lot of wealth in the South. But anyway, so it became the party of the intellectuals. Well, the intellectuals is sometimes get they're usually middle class. They can get a little bit out of touch with the suffering of the poor. So the far left steps in and says, you can't ignore that. And so there you get the modern Democratic Party. Still a business party, but a party where Bernie Sanders is seen as crazy left. He's a centrist in Europe. Something people don't like to bring up, I suppose. Yeah, and that's where they take care of their people, where they try to. Yeah. So, we're talking about oppression of your rights here. And that isn't good for your healing of the mind. Okay, I haven't, well, I guess I was assuming you would understand that healing the mind is connected to all these things, but let's go, and I did cover it in the first part of my presentation, but let's touch on it again. The healing of the mind means the way that, and its connection to rational mysticism, is the brain communicating to other parts of the brain with empathy and awareness. And so to do that, I do a daylight dream. I promote it. But you're doing a daylight dream. You're playing all the parts, right? So that's a truly conscious dream. And and in that dream, if you want to increase healing communication, you're going to apply empathy in various ways to yourself. Love yourself. And in the process of loving yourself, you end up loving others, right? And, because empathy is something that involves kind of mirroring. So, and in your dreams, you're mirroring yourself. A lot of different perspectives. And those perspectives are coming from experiences with real people. And that's important. You're going to return your faith and love, which is the rational mystic goal. Then you need healing of the mind, and the healing of the mind involves an active presentation of love. And a lot of the people with NDEs come back and they're better people. Even the ones that have negative NDEs, they come back and they're better people. Because they were talking within their own mind, experiencing their own mind from different perspectives. And that makes connections that are caring. In most cases, but that promote caring in one way or another. More harsher NDEs are more at the end of the healing of the mind process. You're feeling the guilt, and that's the hardest thing of all to feel. And in the healing process, the healing of the mind, you want to not emphasize that. It's the hardest thing to feel or to integrate. You want to approach it in ways that help you to unlearn helplessness around your needs and your feelings, which produce those symbols that I talked about earlier in the presentation. You want to, because that keeps you sick. So you have to unlearn that helplessness. And how you do that is you go back and you approach that memory, that time, from many different perspectives, so that you're creating a sense of control and not in battling the overwhelming feeling of helplessness. But as you do so, then you realize that these needs and feelings and so on are now, in present time, they're losses. And so that necessitates a grieving process. And after the grieving, that's when you can do a better job at forgiving. If you really haven't let a thing go, you really don't forgive that person. And forgiving someone doesn't mean you trust them, because you know that they did the wrong thing. They're gonna have to earn your trust again. But it heals you. And after the forgiveness, then's when you can get more into remorse, and how you were kind of the monster in the picture. And as a social animal, there's nothing worse than feeling like you're the bad guy. That's pretty scary. So that's one of the things that after you develop this empowerment, this ability to look at things from many perspectives and go through this process, after you've done the forgiving, it's easier to forgive yourself. And that's part of remorse. But realizing how you hurt other people, that empathetic view, that's pretty painful. And but when you feel it, and you have true remorse, then you're no longer the person who did that, because you wouldn't do it again, would you? You wouldn't do that, because you're now in touch with your own needs and better in touch with the needs of others, and you're just not that person anymore. You're born again. So all of these things that the great mystic Jesus had to say, and the great mystic Buddha, and the great mystic Krishna had to say, really apply to this. And surrendering to a sense of a higher power, which is your brain. Imaginable, you imagine, it's your higher power of imagination, rationally speaking. And having faith in that, and growing that faith, it's important to a sense of, I'm okay, you're okay. Famous book. So, I'm okay, you're okay. Empathy. So, I hope that I've tied these together well enough for you. There are 3 practices, types of role play that I talk about, and the actual result of these things is that you're communicating with yourself, others, and your sense of the power of your imagination, your higher power. You're having 3 kinds of dialogues or role plays. When you're talking to others, you're using the approach there in this system is to use compassionate empathy. Connecting to love is to connect to need. It's vital. So, and you're talking to others, then, you're doing that with a focus on real love. When that doesn't mean you can't be angry. Sure you can. But you can work it out too in your mind. You go past the anger and the frustration, and you find the resolution of some of these unpleasant memories that involve yourself and others. But there's a whole, I don't want to skip too quickly to the meditative approaches. But you're talking to yourself, again, you're talking to, between the part of you that is the experiencer of everything, your dramatic self, your more emotional self, where things impact you without the filters. And you talking to that kid as a counselor, as someone with objective empathy. You're doing your own talkie-talkie therapy. And it has its value. And one thing, you separate feeling from thinking, so that you don't confuse a feeling that you're having with any facts that come from your thinking. Your feeling and your thinking are 2 separate things. And communicating between them means you're being more thoughtful about what you're feeling and what you want to feel in the future. So that's your internal counselor, the grown-up you talking to the kid in you. Now, your higher power, your power of imagination, when you're talking and having a conversation with that part of you, again, you're the person in the drama of your life, the kid, I call it, talking to a part of you that can reimagine the events of your life, create new memories, and you're basically as the artist, as your inner artist, you are creating guided meditations, for instance. Or what is the perspective from a place of, like the NDEs, no time, because the artist is up above your timeline. It can imagine time, so it's outside of time in a way. So it can imagine your time. It sits in a place where there is no time. Kind of like the experience in the NDEs, right? And kind of like the idea of heaven. So your artist is always in heaven, enjoying the story of your life no matter what's going on. A nice little separation between the drama and your ability to imagine a better world or a better experience. And of course, from that perspective, you're encouraged to make your life more meaningful by healing your mind and doing work in the world that will help other people. And how does this relate to death? Well, I had a conversation today with a friend, and this person was very concerned because they were older like me, and a dear friend of this individual had died, and they were feeling very down. So, you need a grieving process. But part of that grieving process is to remember the good things, because grieving is about loss. The good things that, you won't have, and but you need to accept that, that they're gone. But from the artist's perspective, that you also have, there is no time. So your perspective of that individual, your experience of them still goes on, and the beauty of a thing being born and passing is something you can appreciate from the distance of heaven. You can appreciate the beauty of a flower that blooms and then it passes away. It wilts. So you can accept that and deal with that and appreciate the beauty. So from that perspective of your inner artist, you can appreciate the absolute beauty of this entire person's life, just as you can appreciate the importance and beauty of your entire life, which will have an end. And how you perceive that end in your imagination, that you're reaching toward the end when you're as old as I am, or if you've got a fatal disease. But the beauty of who you are and of that whole story is still real and present and enjoyable to the last breath. So I'm hoping that some of the things that I've said made sense to you, and I'm looking forward to any comments that you might make. I'm not a professional speaker. A lot of what I say can seem to be and is sometimes rambling. But I try to make connections. That's what I do. I try to see how things are interrelated. And I hope you'll do the same. So I'd like you to subscribe. Subscribing has been going down, Yeah, from others. I've been subscribing. people aren't subscribing to me, and the numbers that they used to. And I only what have I think I got 70 subscribers. So if you want to help out this channel, then subscribe. But this channel's not about me. As it grows, it's going to have Zoom calls, and the subscribers are going to be people that we call on to help create the Zoom in the first part of the Zoom meeting. And then, if they want to, stay on and be a part of the discussion about what we decided to talk about. And as you can see, there's things are very interrelated, that you wouldn't even guess were related if you didn't give it some thought. So I hope you'll subscribe. I hope that you'll share any videos that you especially liked, and that you will comment. Let me know you're out there. I really appreciate all the comments that come, and that's how I learn and grow. So, all right, that's the end of my presentation. And at the end of my presentations, I like to present the Irish blessing, which I love so much. I'll spare you my singing it. I'll just say it this time. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sunshine warm upon your face. The rain fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. And as I like to say, or her hand, or its hand, however you see the source of all love. And another thing that I like to mention is Carl Sagan's statement that we are the universe knowing itself. Mm-hmm. So we should approach one another with wonder, and with the reality that we are all the universe knowing itself, experiencing itself. We're like someone in an indie where everybody is you. Well, everybody is the universe knowing itself. Yeah. Anyway, and there's a word that's goodbye and hello in India that means what Carl Sagan said. And I have a special fondness for that word. That word is not, it's not a word, it's a greeting and a goodbye. But that greeting and goodbye, in this case goodbye, for now, it's namaste. So, I know, it's not a great video. I'm trying to get Zooms going. I need more people to help me with it. People are very busy. But if you believe in the channel and you want to help, then please do. Actually, this process of healing that I talk about is something you can learn and help others with. And just like with Linux, it's open source. So use it as you like, and your own version of it if you like, and try to help people. All right. Namaste.